Welcome back to Through the Trapdoor. I'm Emily.
And I'm Katie.
This is our podcast where we read Harry Potter fan fiction.
I wasn't paying attention.
So, some updates. We now have listeners in New Zealand and Israel and Canada.
So exciting.
I'm so excited.
We love you guys. Tweet at us or something, I don't know. Or send us an email. Like our Facebook page, anything.
Yeah. Send us fan fiction you want us to read. There's lots of
Like our
options.
Instagram posts.
Yeah.
Review it and rate it.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Please. So what happened last week? I didn't read, so I forget.
Petunia moved in.
Yes.
She and Harry
Kind of re-met.
Yeah, awkwardly saw each other.
Oh, yes. Well, he was chatting through the fireplace.
And then they went to Diagon Alley via Porky.
All right, so now we're in chapter 11. All eyes seemed to be on Harry as the entire building seemed to go quiet. Soon there was not a single noise to be heard, and Dudley couldn't help but wonder why Harry had so suddenly been put on the spot. Harry certainly hadn't been the most charismatic?
Yes.
Yeah. Charismatic child growing up. Dudley remembered how his cousin had almost no friends in primary school. Even now, Harry seemed to squirm under the gaze of so many people. So why? A very haggard-looking witch slowly approached Harry. I cannot believe I'm seeing you with my own eye. It's an honor. It's almost as if the witch's movements had triggered a flood of attention. The rest of the pub-goers were almost egged on by her actions and were soon hounding Harry with requests and general comments of adoration. Mr. Potter, could you please sign this for me?
Please?
Mr. Potter, you wouldn't believe how many times a little boy ran around the house pretending to be you.
Absolutely wonderful.
Do you think? Oi! Suddenly, a booming voice ripped through the tavern, causing everyone, including the Dursleys and the Potter, to turn and face the source of the sudden interruption. There, standing on the counter of the bar, clad in his usual turquoise hair and pierced eyebrow, was Teddy. The stout wizard huffed at Teddy. And who do you think you are, you loon? The vibrant wizard got off the counter and back onto the floor. Mr. Potter here is on private business and wishes not to be disturbed at this time. I'm the Auror assigned to escort Mr. Potter and his family unharmed and unmolested during this time. Dudley was surprised at how professional Teddy sounded in comparison to his behavior at Harry's house. In fact, Teddy looked almost nothing like the teenage wizard he met a few months ago. Instead of wearing bright violet robes, Teddy now wore sharp-looking navy robes with several bright red stripes around his sleeves. Teddy wasn't even wearing his tight, ragged jeans. Instead, he had on a pair of simple slacks. You? Don't make me laugh! The same wizard barked at Harry's godson. There were a few mutters of agreement amongst the crowd. Teddy smoothly removed something from his cloak, though what it was, Dudley couldn't see from where he was standing. Yes, me. Now, if you don't let Mr. Potter and his family through, I'll be forced to arrest you for disturbing the peace. There was quite a few grumblings, but no one seemed to want to test Teddy's presence. As they slowly moved away from Harry, Harry took advantage of his freedom and nearly dragged Dudley and his family, not to mention Al, out of the back door of the pub. Teddy followed closely behind. I thought you knew better than to walk right into the leaky cauldron without your hood, Uncle Harry, the bright teen laughed, seriousness gone and his normal bubbly personality back. Dudley could have sworn he saw his mother cringe at the sight of Teddy's hair. Harry rubbed the back of his neck shyly. I normally do, Teddy. I guess I got so caught up with the family and everything, I guess I forgot. But thanks for bailing me out. Harry, you always need someone to bail you out.
Yeah, that's 100% true.
Always.
For as much of a hero complex as he has, he seems to need help all of the time.
Yeah, but I feel like movie Harry never gave credit to the help, but book Harry always did.
Yes.
Don't mention it. Really, don't. I'm not supposed to flash my badge around when I'm off duty. Teddy nodded knowingly at Harry. How would Harry know? He's a professor. He's not an Auror in this.
I feel like it kind of goes back to what we talked about, how, like, he probably went to Auror training, tried it out.
And then was like, nah, I'm good.
Didn't like it, went back to teaching.
Yeah.
Well, not back to teaching, but went to teaching.
Well, I feel like back to teaching because he went back to trying to save the world. And then, no. I liked it better when I was teaching the DA, so I'm just going to do that for my career.
Yeah. I feel like this Harry went through that kind of progression.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. What are you? Will asked in amazement. Teddy chuckled. Well, if you must know, I'm many things. I'm a man. I'm a megamorph margus. And I'm an aura. Will nodded. That one! Teddy chuckled. Well, since you asked so nicely. An aura works in the Department of Magical Law Enforcement. I catch bad wizards. The teen puffed out his chest in a proud manner. So you're a magical policeman? Will asked. Teddy stared at Will. What's a policeman? It was then that Teddy looked at Dudley. Well, it's nice to see you again, although it looks like your wife might have had a nasty run-in with one of Uncle George's Rip Van Winkle sprinkles. The teen wizard arched a pierced eyebrow at Petunia. I beg your pardon? Petunia sniffed indignantly. Al quickly whispered something in Teddy's ear. The latter quickly turned bright red and his hair blushing a brilliant magenta. No one told me she was his mother, not his wife. You keep making me look like an idiot. Dudley could hear Harry mutter under his breath, You do that on your own. Oh, Teddy. And I like that they keep referring to Teddy as a teenager when, yes, he is only 19. However, in the wizarding world, he's a full-blown adult.
Yes, he is an adult, but he's still a teenager.
Will, on the other hand, looked at Harry. What happened in there? Why did all those people know who you are? Harry groaned. Just war stuff. That's all, Will. I just made a few contributions to the war effort, that's all. You were a child soldier? Will asked eagerly. Al just looked like he wanted Will to simply drop the subject, a look that Dudley made careful note of. Yeah, you could say that. I just led a small group of troops during the war. The only reason that I'm more notably recognized was because they were all child soldiers. Will's eyes seemed to get bigger as Harry's cheeks burned brighter. Dudley had never noticed before just how modest Harry could be. Will opened his mouth, ready to ask more questions. Luckily for Harry, Teddy noticed his godfather's awkward position and intervened on his behalf. Hey, Will, what's your favorite color? Soon, Will and Al were watching Teddy change everything about his facial appearance for their amusement, but Dudley was watching Harry, who seemed relieved that Will was distracted. You led a squadron of child soldiers, then? Dudley asked his cousin quietly. Petunia stood next to her son, watching her nephew. Harry nodded slightly. I did. When I was 15, that was before the war had even broken out. When I left your house for the last time, I was starting out on a quest to kill the man who murdered my parents. Luckily for me, everyone else in the free wizarding world was terrified of him and wanted him gone. Hence why I was never arrested for murder. Murder? Petunia gasped, trying to keep herself as quiet as possible. Again, Harry nodded. A lot of people died in the war. Ginny even lost a brother. The reason why everyone nearly worships the ground I walk on was because I ended the Second Wizarding War, and I guess you could say I ended the first one also. Harry, what are you saying? You single-handedly ended both wars? Dudley tried to keep from gawking at his cousin. It had been hard for him to believe that Harry played a sport, but to believe he was a war hero? But Harry shook his head. Not single-handedly. Petunia gave a small sigh of relief. I had a lot of help, but I was the one who killed Voldemort. Dudley furrowed his brow. Who? The one who killed my parents. Oh. Harry nodded, eager to drop the subject. Well, now that we've spent enough time just chit-chatting, we better get going. Say bye to Teddy, kids. Teddy, who waved to Will and Al before disapparating. Will walked next to his father as Harry approaching a very solid brick wall. Harry? Dudley couldn't help but wonder out loud. The older wizard merely turned around and smiled at the Dursleys before pulling his wand out of his cloak. A hand tightened on Dudley's arm, making him realize that his mother was clinging to his arm. Dudley could hear Al whisper to Will, "Wait until you see this." And Harry began to tap the bricks of the wall. This was most certainly magic. Will's eyes widened in disbelief as the brick wall started to rearrange themselves in front of his very eyes. His dad and his grandmother watched with mouths agape while Harry shared a small smirk with Will and Al. Cool, isn't it? Will nodded dumbly as the bricks formed an archway that led to Diagon Alley. It was everything that Will had imagined it to be. There were shops that sold brooms, just like he had written at Al's house. There were were those cauldrons in the shop window, and the witch was actually buying tongue of newt from a vendor? Mercy me, Will heard his grandmother gasp, clinging to his father. Dudley tried his best to keep his disbelief at bay. Mercy me.
Yep.
Love it. Yes.
I feel like I would be overwhelmed like that the first time I saw it.
Yeah, I'd be like, well. Harry chuckled at Petunia's response. It's overwhelming, isn't it? The dark-haired wizard carefully pulled his hood over his head. Sorry about this, but I'd rather not get mobbed again. Dudley only nodded, still staring wide-eyed at the shops. Al? Albus looked at his father. Will by his side. If I give you money, can I trust you to take Will to Flourish and Bots and get your books for this year? Will watched as Al's green eyes brightened at the word books. Of course you can, Dad. I don't think you can.
I know. It sounds like he's going to buy a lot of everything else.
Although at the same time, Al and Will would most definitely buy their school books.
Yes.
And then anything left over, there would be no change.
Yes.
Harry took a small pouch out of his cloak and gave Al a handful of gold, silver, and bronze coins. Al was already halfway to the shop, pulling Will behind him before Harry was able to give him more instructions. Maybe you should buy both of you school books before buying anything for pleasure reading. Isn't that just what we said they would do?
Yeah.
I will, Dad. Al looked positively giddy as the two boys made their way to the store. Will chuckled. You seemed eager to get away from your dad. Al only shook his head. Not away from my dad. I just wanted to get in here. You thought my library was nice? This place is amazing. Will looked around the store. Never in his life had he been more excited for books. When he was in primary school, his parents almost had to force him to read. But now, the sight of so many books only told Will that he had so much to learn. So much he could learn to do, and he didn't know where to start. Al grinned. Pretty cool, huh? The blonde boy nodded dumbly. Where do we start? With our school books, of course. Al laughed, dragging Will down the many aisles of the bookstore. Will tried his best to keep up with everything that was happening. But more importantly, he tried to read the covers of some of the books he was seeing. Were there really books on how to tame dragons and spells to make household life easier? There was so much to read. Come on, Will, I think I see our herbology book over here. A Passage of Time. My arms are gonna break, Will groaned under the weight of his textbook. When he read on his list, he needed History of the World, volumes 1, 2, and 3. Will had thought perhaps they were joking. Now his arms were paying the price of the school's idea of a joke. Oh, stop whining, Will. I got more books than you do, Al grumbled as the two stepped out of the shop. After paying for their books, Al went back and got the newest edition of Hogwarts, A History. Will thought it was silly, but Al insisted that the new edition had much more recent events in it. I would assume that it would. Why would they put out a new edition if it didn't have current events?
Yeah, like why bother?
Or why wouldn't they just make Hogwarts A History, Volume 2?
Or self-updating.
Ah! Self-updating books! Yes!
I feel like that'd be really good for, like, history books or, like, Hogwarts at History. Like, it surprises me that those aren't self-updating editions.
Yeah, but, Wizards gotta make that money, too. So, I can see why they wouldn't be self-updating, so they can make more money.
Sure.
Capitalism. Which I get.
Yes.
But at the same time, self-updating books would be really cool.
It'd be so cool.
Also, these kids are like, I know it's like all of the schooling that the Wizarding World gets, and it doesn't cost money to go to Hogwarts, but it costs money to buy all your books. If it's basically a public school, why don't they provide textbooks?
That's a good point. Yeah, like why does each student need their own?
I mean, maybe for homework purposes?
Yeah, but like even in high school, like you were given your own copy of the book to do.
Right, and then you
homework
just
with.
had to give it back.
Yeah. And I mean, like how often are they going to need to go back and look something up that's not going to be in their current edition for whatever year they're in?
Right.
I could see maybe for like the non-mandatory classes like
Right.
Muggle studies.
Buying
and,
those books,
yeah.
but like history of magic, charms, transfiguration, herbology.
Like, those are all classes that everybody has to take, so just have a set number.
Right. You know how many students you're going to have.
Yeah.
They should provide textbooks. Clearly these books don't like update very often.
Yeah.
But I guess that way the teachers can select what books that they teach.
Yeah, but how often are they going to change up the books that they
I don't know, that defense
select?
against dark arts teachers always had different books.
True, which is why I feel like if they had like a set,
The curriculum would have never been different.
yes,
Also, they would have always learned every year, not Gilderoy.
Yes.
They didn't learn much of anything. Quirrell taught them, but he was weird.
yes, he
You
was
know.
just weird.
Voldemort living on the back of his head and all.
Yeah, it makes things weird.
What's-her-face didn't teach him a damn thing.
No, so see, I feel like if they had like a set curriculum and like books that they give all of the students, that way
That would have never been a problem.
Yeah, then it would have to be like, oh, this year you have Lockhart teaching you, but don't worry, we already still have all of those textbooks that we're going to provide you with.
Right. But then, entire plot point of Order of the Phoenix wouldn't be a thing.
Well, it's fine. It's fine. Whatever.
I just thought of it, and I was just like, interesting. They treat it like college where you have to buy all your books.
Yeah.
Hey, Al, Will. Both boys looked over to see Harry making his way over with Will's dad and grandmother. Al sighed in relief. Finally! Harry had barely reached the two students before Al grabbed Harry's wallet, shoving all of his books into the small leather bifold. Come on, Will, your books will fit too. And in a split second that Will didn't believe Al, but after remembering everything that had happened to him in the past few months, decided that there was nothing impossible with magic.
You mean when Harry reached into his wallet up to his shoulder
Like shoulder deep in his wallet to get you Hogwarts of History the first time?
and rummaged for a long period of time?
Like literally shoulder deep in his wallet. Come on, dude. Slowly and almost hesitantly, Will dumped his books into Harry's wallet. Also, why does Harry... that's the only reason Harry would have a wallet. Because wizard money is coins.
Yeah. Or why couldn't you bring a shopping bag?
With an indestructible expansion charm and a featherlight. Come on.
Yeah. You have to have shopping bags around.
Or a backpack.
A backpack, one to give to each of you so you don't have to search for all of Will's
In your
things.
shoulder deep in your wallet.
Yeah. I like the idea of expansion charms, but at the same time, I feel like in objects like the wallet,
Why?
You can't see into the wallet. You just had to stick your arm in there and rummage blindly. Who knows what you're touching?
Right.
It's
I would make every purse I have that.
Yeah, I feel like it would be fine in purses like you and I have, where you can fully open them up and
Yeah,
see.
Mary Poppins bags.
Yes.
That's exclusively what I would have.
Yeah.
There. Al stretched his arms gratefully. Hey, Dad, what's that? I thought I told you I wanted to pick out my owl. Will watched as Al gestured to the cage at Harry's side. Inside was a large bird who was currently napping. Because the owl's head was neatly tucked under its wing, Will could see the bird's massive claws grip the perch and decided that he did not want to be on that bird's bad side. Harry chuckled at Al. This isn't for you, Al. Harry smiled at Will. I told you that the books was only part of your gift, Will. Will looked at Harry and then his dad and grandmother. Oh no, you don't have to do that. You've already done so much. Will, the small blonde, looked at the older wizard. I remember when I first started in the wizarding world, the first magical person I ever met gave me an owl, and he said it was for all the birthday presents I should have gotten, but didn't. I thought I would pass on the tradition to you. Harry handed the cage to Will, who held it cautiously. The small blonde gulped. It's really big. Harry chuckled. Yeah, they get pretty big. That's a Eurasian eagle owl, one of the biggest in the world. But don't worry, she's done growing. and she's already been tamed to be a good companion. Harry leaned towards Will a bit, dropping the volume of his voice. Plus, bigger owl means bigger packages from home. The green-eyed wizard gave Will a wink that was well hid from Dudley because of the wizard's hood. Suddenly, a grin spread over Will's face like wildfire. Dudley looked around at the many shops. Where do we go now, Harry? Harry paused, trying to appear as if he was pondering some great mystery. Everyone watched as Harry smiled underneath his hood. I guess our next stop should be Ollivander's. Al could have jumped for joy, but managed to refrain from doing so. Come on, Will, let's go! The younger Potter smiled, trying to drag Will and his owl down the alley. What's Ollivander's? Will couldn't help but ask. Al didn't stop moving down the magical marketplace. Ollivander's? Al looked back at Will, grinning. He's a wand maker! Will, we're gonna get our wands! Will could have sworn his heart stopped. He was really getting a magic wand? End of chapter!
Woo!
Yeah, Will, we already explained to you that you need a wand for magic. Why wouldn't you be getting your wand
I feel
today?
like he already knew that. I don't know if it's like he is so shocked that he's getting a magic wand, as it's more like it's finally truly hitting him that he is getting a magic wand.
Right. And it's like, am I ready for this? Am I really getting a wand today? Oh no, this is like, it's already been, it's like real, but it's like,
Now it's
now I
true.
have a place
Yeah.
to channel my magic. What?
Yeah.
It's not just accidentally setting your teacher's toupee on fire anymore.
Yeah.
All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Please subscribe and leave a review on iTunes.
A nice one. And you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Through the Trapdoor 16 and on our Twitter at The Trapdoor 16.
Because Through the Trapdoor was too long for Twitter.
Yep.
And you can email us at throughthetrapdoor16@gmail.com with any story suggestions, or if there's anything you think that we need to see, whether it's a meme or another fan fiction, or if you have anything to say to us.
Bye.
Bye.